How the heck are you guys? I am Fastidious, and I have a very exciting video for you guys tonight. I want to debut how the new regrading rubric and tier list system on my website is going to work. Now, this is something I've talked about a lot recently and something I've been planning for months, but essentially, on my tier list, I have felt that the grades do not give the modern 2026 player in Watcher of Realms an accurate view of where exactly every hero shines the most. You can see if we scroll down a little bit more, so we get out of the triple S category, there's still so many S pluses and so much gold on the page. So the gold is representing grades of S or S plus, right? And it's too much. Now, that's not to say all these heroes aren't good, but basically, I used to give very high grades to anyone that excelled in content. Sharing that a hero excels in a certain piece of content does not tell the full picture, because there's different degrees to a unit's ability to excel. So for that reason, I've created a new system that I'm going to slowly start rolling out over the next few weeks, and it will actually begin here in this video, where I'll be using Lyra and Valkyra, the upcoming raid-up units this weekend at the time of filming this. I'm going to use them as the example for how I will now regrade every single hero in this game on the tier list. So we're going to spend the vast majority of this video here on my website, where I'm going to be regrading Lyra and Valkyra. By the way, fun tip for the tier list, if you just put a comma in, you can search for specific units, multiple at a time. I just threw Gone in there because why not? But we're going to focus in on Lyra and Valkyra, and I'm going to regrade them for every piece of content. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, I essentially did a should you summon video yesterday where I said you should skip this banner. But if you went on my tier list, you would see both of these units have an S+. So why would you skip the banner if they are earning such a high grade on my website? Frankly, with the old system, they did deserve an S+. Maybe nowadays on a regrade, they'd come out closer to an S. But nowadays, they will not be there at all, right? And it's because I want to change what every letter in this tier list means. So if you already want to see this for yourself, yes, you're going to learn a lot in this video, but you can go to my website, fastidious.gg/tier-list, and that will bring you to this main page. You won't have to search for Lyra and Valkyra. And then in the top left, you'll see me and my web dev Archer have created this tool that is interactive and shows you how the tier list ranking works. So this is the overview. Essentially, there are two ways that we give units grades. There are specific content grades where we give each unit a grade for each individual piece of content. And that is going to range from nothing, like a dash or an NA, not applicable, all the way up to an S+. Separately, we have overall grades, which go from F, meaning non-functioning or severely flawed, all the way up to S+, which indicates that the hero is an exceptional performer. Now, there are two other grades, which people ask me about a lot. One of them is the triple S grade, which has been out forever. The other one is the double S grade, which is going to start rolling out now. Also, sorry, I know this all is small. If you want to see it bigger, go to the website or stay tuned for future videos. I just need to be able to show everything in one view. But these grades, triple S and double S, are specific special rankings that are given not just as an overall grade for quality, but effectively, they're like a gold and silver star ranking grade. So you can see here, if we go to overview, the triple S and double S are only for overall grades, and they signify where non-lords and lords rank at the very tippy top of the game. So if a hero earns a triple S, they are one of the top 5 lords or top 5 non-lords in the entire game. If they earn double S, they are in that top 10 for lords and non-lords, but they didn't make the top 5. So they're somewhere between 6 and 10. And these are grades that will change a lot when things change in the meta, new content comes out, new heroes come out, so on and so on. You will see the overall grades more at the end, and we'll discuss it in some detail. But for now, we're focusing on the content grades because we can't do an overall grade until we have regraded these units for content. So without further ado, let's get into it. I've taken a screenshot of the rubric for reference. I'll try to say as much of this out loud as I can, since I know it's small, but this is the only way to do it. There is a lot of content to grade for, so without further ado, let's begin. I'm also in admin mode, so I can live edit this. If you guys are wondering why you can't edit it, it's because you're not in admin mode. You're just in the viewer mode because you're just using the website, not making it. Okay, let's begin with Guild Boss 1. We'll come back to the overall grades. So in Guild Boss 1, currently Lyra has an S+, Valkyra has a B. If we look at the content grades, and by the way, the colors for the content grades in the tier list explanation, the rubric, these are going to be changed by the time I finish rolling out all the updates to correspond with the right colors, so just bear with me for now. The S+ previously just meant this hero is really good, a high tier option for this content. Now, S+ specifically is meaning that the hero is the best in slot for that specific content. All of the grades in my rubric, you'll see, come with kind of a short version, an abridged quick version, and then a slightly longer one. You can see the slightly longer explanation. This hero is the best in slot for this specific content. It excels in its role and is meta-defining in the endgame. Now, Lyra previously excelled in her role, but she was not completely best in slot for Guild Boss 1, certainly not. And now that we have so many more options for Guild Boss 1, and it's become a lot easier to get that 50k in Nightmare 4 than it used to be, it's really important that the top grade is going to the absolute, optimal meta person for this content. So no longer is she gonna earn an S+ there. She's probably not even going to get an S because this would stand for excellent or just off meta. She's great, but she's not just off meta. She's going to fall right here at an A+, high tier for this content. This hero performs well in this specific content and is viable at endgame. Specifically for Guild Boss 1, endgame is Nightmare 4, and Lyra is incredibly viable for that if you're running a Twin Fiend or Soul Cadence or Pyros-led Infernal comp, so we're going to knock her down to an A+. An important thing to note is she's no worse than she used to be in Guild Boss 1. It's just the meaning of the letters has now changed. So A+ is a lot better than it used to be because we're recalibrating all the grades. If we go to Valkyra, previously she got a B because B previously, I didn't have definitions, but to me it just meant that this hero was acceptable for progression. They weren't useless for this content. And that is true, right? Valkyra, though she is an AoE DPS, is a melee unit. The AoE DPS is good enough that it can sub in for decent single target damage, and her key source of value was that she put out magic vulnerability. However, at this point, with the new grading system, she is definitely not a B. B would mean that she's playable but limited for this content. This hero is a suitable choice for this specific content to a point. That point is really early where she stops being suitable. So I do not think she earns a B anymore. I'm going to drop her down to a C. You can see the C here. This hero is acceptable only when faced with limited options. It is significantly outclassed and has little to no relevance beyond earlier mid-game. That's exactly what Valkyra is for this. She's an AoE DPS, very good for AoE, not someone you're going to seek out for single target. Her extra utility with that vulnerability is still fairly limited, so she's going to come in as a C. Now, I spent a lot of time there on Guild Boss 1. By the way, before this is formally launched in full with all the changes, I'm going to rename all these headers as well. But for Guild Boss 1 Nightmare 4, I obviously spent a lot of time discussing that right now on these grades. I'm about to go a lot faster since this was kind of the intro example with this piece of content, so bear with me, let's keep going. Lyra actually brings a lot of value to Abyss 1. She can be a great shield breaker now, though she does need A3 for that. Her damage otherwise is just that of a good single target infernal option. She's not going to be to the level without awakenings of someone like a Hex. She's not going to be the level of someone like a Phineas, and certainly she's no Soul Cadence, so she's not going to be in any definitive meta. Frankly, Infernals are not in definitive meta for Abyss 1 now anyway, so obviously she can't be an S+. If we look at S, excellent just off meta. She's not just off meta. She's going to again fall in A+. If you can get her to A3 or higher, she's going to be a very valuable A+, maybe getting closer to S, but that is going to be her ranking there. Now for Valkyra, Abyss 1, we don't really need to worry about it. She's going to get a D here. So why is she going to get a D? You can see here she's very weak for this content. I'm not going to give her an F because she is technically usable. She's not going to function great, but she will function. The F is for units that really absolutely completely suck, but can be used in that content. There is one other grade, which is the none, which is this dash. That's where the unit is actually not usable. So an example of that would be like bringing Valkyra or Lyra. We can actually do this right now, bringing them into the healer codex. obviously that is not something you're going to do. Basically, outside of some very specific Silas strats, you're bringing healers for that. They are unusable for that content. All right, let's really take it to another level. Guild Boss 2, this is Samara Titanic Ruins. At this point, she is going to be just off meta. You know, if you're thinking of a DPS role on an Infernal comp and you're thinking of someone with Dispel, she is still one of the few very good units in this game with Dispel. So I actually think she does earn an S here. You know, Kagiri is going to be that meta unit for that role, but she's going to be excellent, completely do the job, and excel in a just off meta comp. Something to note here, Samara is not nearly as difficult as it used to be. So for that reason, she can absolutely completely shine in this content, especially after her recent buff. Valkyra, she used to get a pretty good grade here just because Arbiter was very meta and she could be an Arbiter piece. It was harder to find good melee units. She did bring her vulnerability. She had that kind of revive mechanic when things started falling apart from her passive. She wasn't terrible, but at the end of the day, she was an AoE magic unit in single target content. So she's certainly not going to get an A anymore. She's going to fall in right at a B. If you need to run an Arbiter comp and you're missing a unit, Valkyra can totally function, but she's not going to shine here at all. Now a new piece of content. Lyra is going to fall way, 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 way down in Matrix. She's a single target unit. She's not going to shine in this at all. She's going to be right down at a D. I don't think we can give her an F because she's not the absolute worst option possible, but she's not a very usable option. It's great damage, but it's single target damage. It's not going to be a good choice. Valkyra is going to be a solid choice for this. There's going to be some nuance here, though. She is certainly not best in slot. She's certainly not off meta. She's probably not even high tier, but I would say for progression and for general strength as an AoE melee DPS, she is going to earn an A. If we look at the definition of an A, these are units that are strong and reliable in this specific content. This hero is great for this specific content and is strong in its role through the late game. It falls off at the highest stages or difficulties. I think that's correct. You know, until you have all the meta options, let's say you had to run an Elysia or a Praetus as a lord for this, Valkyra could be completely functional to a fairly deep point, but she's never going to get you those higher grades. So let's go ahead and let's give her an A. Borderline B+, right? Because she's maybe leaning more towards a progression unit, but because outside of the super meta options, the remaining options are somewhat limited, I think we're happy with an A there. Let's go even faster now. I think we get a full picture. Lyra and Gear Raid 1. She's not going to be a top option. Infernals aren't that great there. Esotericists are, but you'd rather bring an AoE unit. She could be really nice to snipe down the boss at the end, but frankly, I would say she's playable but limited, so she's going to come in at a B. Valkyra is super duper usable in Gear Raid 1, technically all the way through stage 24. She's definitely outclassed by the most meta options. I would say she's going to come in somewhere between an A and an A+. She's somewhere between strong and reliable and high tier. I think I am going to give her high tier just because she's so good through 21, and she only starts falling off at the highest, most difficult levels when you start really leaning towards those, excellent meta options. Gear Raid 2 now. Lyra is solid for progression at the beginning. If you just need to snipe down the boss, she can just delete the boss completely. However, she brings no AoE to the table, so she'll never be a main DPS for this. She cannot get a very good grade here at all. So I'm going to say she's going to be a C. Weak and outclassed for this content. That's not to say she's unusable, but you're going to reach a pretty quick point after the earlier mid-game where you're not going to need some supplemental single-target DPS, and she's just not a unit you're going to value at all. If we look at Valkyra, she's actually quite usable through progression if you point her, from one side towards the other, so she's hitting both lanes. She's serviceable through 21, though not even close to a top option. She actually becomes more valuable at 22, 23, and 24, but you would struggle to use her as a main DPS, especially after 22. She could be a great second DPS, though, if you need that. If you don't have a good enough main DPS to solo DPS it, a lot of people won't have that. So for that reason, she's definitely good, but I think A is perfectly appropriate for her. Now for Lyra, Gear Raid 3, I'm actually going to knock her down to an F. This is just content you're not going to use her in at all. I mean, technically you could, so we can't give her like a not applicable. So we're just going to give her an F to make sure no one uses her for this content. If we go to Valkyra, she can hit aerial units. She can tank for you as you progress. I was thinking of giving her B+, but I'm actually going to keep her at B. She's playable, but she's pretty limited. You're going to outgrow her. She's never going to be a top option, so let's leave her right there there at a B. So for Gear Dungeon 1, this is what we used to call Gear Raid 4. Lyra is not going to be a great choice here at all. You could use her to snipe stuff in the top left at the very early moments of progression, but outside of that, it's an AoE stage. She's not going to be very strong here at all. I'm going to give her a C just because she could help with progression very early on, but then she's going to be too weak and she'll get outclassed. If we look at Valkyra, she used to be a definitive S+ because she was tremendous at dealing with that top lane. I will say now that stage 11, 12, and 13 have been added, she is no longer meta. She is not going to be a top choice. You could make her work on stage 11, maybe stage 12. She's still going to be dominant through stage 10, but I'd say she falls off really hard when you reach those highest 3 stages, and I cannot imagine anyone beating stage 13 with her. I think if people beat it, they'd beat it in spite of her. So I think I'm going to drop her down to an A+. You can see with S here, this would be for units that can perform the role effectively in endgame content. She's really, really good up through the late game, but now that endgame content includes 11, 12, and 13, we're going to knock her down to an A+. Gear Raid 5, Valkyra is going to be a very, very mediocre option for the middle lane once that's introduced. So I'm going to just put her down at a C. She's going to be good for initial progression and then get outclassed. Gear Raid 5, Gear Dungeon 2. Previously, Lyra was one of the best options in the game for sniping units, especially as they came down the left side when you had to switch off between physical damage and magic damage. Now, especially with the harder levels, she's not going to be a top choice at all, though she is still good through stage 10. So I'm going to give her a similar treatment to what we did with Valkyra for Gear Dungeon 1, but I'm actually going to knock her down a bit more than an A+. We're going to give her a B+ here. She's very strong for progression, but I can't imagine anyone going out of their way to use Lyra for stage 11, 12, and 13. And even that all said, for stage 9 and stage 10, she's great, but there are a lot of good options now. So I think B+ is appropriate, maybe borderline A. If we go to AMR now, Valkyra has such a high grade because she's so good for progression, and then she's really good for 19 and 21. She's definitely not S+ anymore because she's not meta, but she's still a great option. I'm going to put her at an S. I'd say she's just off meta. She's going to be one of the better AoE units. For Lyra, she's a cheeky option through 18 for just sniping the boss quickly because her damage is so big. Outside of that, though, for stage 20 and 22, those are the platform stages where you'd use her. She's just not going to be particularly viable at all. You might be able to get away if she was in a somewhat tanky build with putting her in the top right, but I just don't think she's a great option for this. I'm going to put her at a C. Now for the Tower Deception, I would say both these units are good, not great. I would say an appropriate grade for both of them is going to be a B+. They're strong for progression. They're going to get outclassed later on. Void Rift. Nowadays, you can beat a lot of different things with Void Rift. I mean, nothing's really changed there. I will say they're like not top meta or something, but I'll give them both an A because they're both very reliable for this. If you guys have thoughts on how we should grade for stuff like Tower Deception, Void Rift Campaign, I mean, it's just not as essential to have certain units for this stuff anymore because the game has kind of outgrown this content. So definitely let me know in the comment section below. That's part of the reason why I'm putting this out before I go ahead and regrade whatever it is, 200 units. If we go to Campaign now, I will say Valkyra is pretty freaking awesome in Campaign with her AoE, with her range, and her ability to hit ground units and aerial units. So let's give her an S. Lyra is going to be good for progression. I don't think she's going to be a top choice for many things in Campaign, so let's give her a B+. In Faction Trials, Valkyra is still fantastic. We're going to give her an S+ there. She's great in the Northern Faction Trials. Lyra, we're going to give her an A. She's great in Infernal. She's a solid option for Esotericist. She works in both factions. Dual factions always going to be a bonus. Now for BP and for defense, the BP we're going to regrade once we recalibrate everyone's BP with some new parameters to figure out what the current rankings are for battle power based on how much you can build onto certain units. Undeniably, Valkyra is extremely good still. She's one of the best non-lord units for BP in the game, so we'll give her an S. Lyra's probably somewhere at like a B. Let's do that. For defense, Lyra gets next to no play. I basically never see her there. If you have a young account, I'm sure you could make it work, especially if you have Infernal, so we'll give her a C. Valkyra used to be quite meta many moons ago. Now I'd say she's great for progression and for when your guild's progressing, but you're not at the highest levels yet. So she's probably, I'd say a solid B+, maybe a borderline A. You guys can let me know. Now for Arena, in single target Arena, you can make interesting stuff happen with Valkyra because of her Arbiter faction membership, but I'm going to keep her at a B because the main use for her is just going to be to have a melee unit that can deal some damage. It's not going to be great for single target, and really just to be another Arbiter body for Praetus comps and stuff like that. She'll put out a little vulnerability, so that's something too. Lyra for single target Arena, I would say she's going to be good, but quickly outclassed as you progress higher. So for that, we're going to put her at an A, maybe actually more like a B+ nowadays. For AoE Arena, there's no way you're using Lyra at all. We're going to put her down at a D. And for Valkyra, she's not meta at all anymore, but she does fit into two different good comps for AoE Arena, whether you're running her as an Arbiter or a Northerner. I think I'm going to give her a solid A. She's strong, she's reliable, she'll get outclassed at the highest levels. She's not going to be off meta, but she is going to be really good up to a point. Anti-air, Valkyra is an option for those Arbiter comps, right? She can hit anti-air units. We'll give her a C. And then for Lyra, I think I'm actually going to give her an F. There's no reason you should use her there. We're at the home stretch now, guys. For Conqueror Codex, Valkyra certainly is not an S+ anymore, but she's definitely good. We'll give her an A+, and Lyra will get a dash. You cannot use platformers here, so she's actually not deployable. If we go to sticks now, Lyra can deal some really, really big damage after the shields, and she does put out a large quantity of hits with her summons, the Cosmic Rifts over her shoulder. I think I'm going to give her an A right here. If anyone's used her to incredible success recently, you can let me know and maybe we'll bump her up. Valkyra is not going to be a top option here at all. We're going to give her a D. Neither of these units should ever be used in Tank Codex, so we'll keep them at a dash. In Arbiter of Frost, Lyra's actually getting bumped up. She recently had Burning added to her kit, and that's pretty dang cool. If you get her A1, she can actually put out multiple stacks of Burning. She could synergize well in an Infernal comp with Soul Cadens or Twin Fiend, a unit like Anai, maybe Hex. So she's definitely playable there. People let me know how good she is after the buff. She's definitely going to be better, so I'm going to put her at an A. If you've personally used her with incredible success or with some disappointment, you can let me know. Valkyra will remain, I guess, not unusable here because she would work, but she'd be incredibly, incredibly weak. So actually, let's give her an F. She's not putting out any dots or anything like that. For Torrent, neither of them are marksmen, neither of them have piercing damage, though technically you could use them. We'll keep them at a dash. And finally, Mother of Crows, you definitely want AoE damage here, so Lyra is not going to be a good option. We'll give her a D. And Valkyra, they have made it that you can put melee units down. She's going to be good, not special. We're going to give her a B. So now when it comes to the overall grade, we can really look through this and suss it out and try to get a clear picture of what their new overall grade should be. If we look at the rubric for overall grades, you can see, obviously these units are not going to be triple S or double S because they're not going to be top 5 or top 10 non-lords in the game. They're not going to be S+ because they're not exceptional meta performers in multiple pieces of content. So we're probably going to be somewhere down here in the B+ to A+ range. So if we look at A+, these heroes perform well and can shine in the right teams or content. Their strengths are clear, but limitations or inconsistencies keep them out of the S tier. Compare that to A. These heroes perform reliably and provide meaningful value in many teams. They are not standout units, but they deliver dependable results without major drawbacks. Finally, if we look at the B+, these heroes provide value in certain situations or team styles. They can be effective when built correctly, but lack the flexibility or consistency of higher tiers. Frankly, I think Valkyra is going to come in at an A+, and Lyra is going to come in at an A. Might not seem like a huge change, but it really is, and you can see there's a much larger variety in color, which means a larger variety in the different content grades, and that's kind of what I'm going for. I think this is a much clearer and more honest depiction of how these heroes work and where these ladies shine in the game. So there you go, guys. This video turned out longer than I expected, but I hope it was kind of exciting because now you can see how the tier list is going to work as I start setting it up finally. And I hope you also maybe understand why it's taken so long, because this takes an incredible amount of time. If you have any suggestions, let me know. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. I've been Fastidious. Share with your mother. Skip this weekend. Do not summon. And I'll see you real soon. Bye.
Fastidious.